blockaded.
Thank you.
All volunteer.
Cuban POW.
He killed them on the spot. Blockade or whatever. Collapse.
The more isolation. Campaña de propaganda contra Cuba.
Okay, chat, hello. Very special stream that we're doing here with Katie Halper from the Katie Halper Show. And we had kind of just realized that our time in Cuba is counting down.
Yeah.
We wanted to at least have some type of discussion, and here we are.
And you have a much better setup than I do. So it's really good that we're doing it this way, because me on my phone, it's not so good. Yeah.
Which Stephanie, that's all her.
Okay, well, thank you, Stephanie. Yeah.
Just the eye candy around here, so I don't do much useful.
Trophy partner.
Yes, that's kind of how, yeah. She's going to give me a little plaque.
Nice.
So I'm looking for
I need my YouTube plaque, by the way. I reached a certain number.
Yeah.
And they mailed it to me, apparently, but I don't know where it is. And I wrote back, but that's whatever. It's pretty boring, yeah.
Well, I think, one of the most important things is that people should write their YouTube representative.
Exactly.
Make sure that Katie Halper gets her plaque.
Thank you. You're mostly on Twitch, right? Okay,
yes.
So I don't know what there's.
I don't expect
accessible?
a plaque.
Are they accessible? More accessible on YouTube?
No.
Very fully opaque.
No, it seemingly just as bad.
Right.
I had to hire a lawyer once.
For what?
Just to get my channel back because they're so inaccessible.
What happened to your channel?
A bunch of racists directed by a pedophile racist on the internet said that I'm a bad person. And then, it was a whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So great websites all around.
Well, I'm glad you got it back. And if you ever need the Katie Halper Show viewers, the Katie Halper Show Army, to go after, we should do that actually. I've never actually thought of that or said that before. I just actually, do you ever listen to the show The Dollop?
Yes.
I love The Dollop. And so Gareth Reynolds talks about, he has a Garmy, the Gareth Army. Yeah. So that's what I'm stealing that from. Yeah.
Yes. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, and perfect transition. Speaking of Army, we had talked about us having to talk about me serving in the military. Yeah. And you kind of being interested of why someone who did would end up here.
Yes.
In Cuba.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what was did I tell you this, by the way, that I forget if I told you this. My mom's then boyfriend was one of the Fort Hood 3 who were the first guys to go to jail to refuse to serve in the immoral, unjust, and illegal Vietnam War. Yeah. No. It was they weren't conscientious objectors because they would have fought in World War II and they would have fought in Spanish Civil War. In fact, my mom's he's a family friend, Dennis Mora. His family actually he is half Puerto Rican, half Spanish, and he had Spanish family who fought in the Spanish Civil War. Anyway, but I think that former military, basically anti-war veterans, are the left's most powerful weapon.
And I got to tell you something crazy real quick. Is I was actually born on Fort Hood when my father served in the military in order to get his citizenship,
right?
For the United States. So, there's a little bit extra there, but there's a lot of pressure in being the most powerful tool for the left.
Sorry. Well, present company excluded. Yeah. I'd say among.
I think that when we look at culturally of the United States, and something that really motivated me as a responsibility to be anti-war,
right,
and be outspoken, is because of the United States and its cultural emphasis on, faux patriotism,
service,
right, and thank you for your service. And I said, I remember once I got out of the military, I got my license with a veterans little thing on there. And every time I bought a 6-pack, can I see your ID? Thank you for service.
Right.
And it's after, at some point it's just this is bullshit.
Right, yeah.
By that time I'd always kind of started peeling back the curtain a little bit.
Right.
But, at the end of the day, that's kind of all you get, is a thank you for your service. But
which is problematic. I mean, I imagine it must be hard on if you're an aware person like you are, it's probably hard on two levels because it's there's a sugar coating of what you did. and also there's a kind of ignoring the fallout, what was done to other people.
Yeah. Well, and that's where, for the average American, they have no idea it's like, that's a politeness.
Right.
And that's where, the ability for veterans to speak out is because there's not actually, at least I believe that there's not a deep support for U.S. individualism across the world, across
Right.
America. They just think they're supposed to.
Or that you
support
guys are
the troops.
defending us.
Yeah, the vague thing, but that bubble can be burst, and especially if it's coming from veterans.
Yeah, exactly.
Telling them, no, you're thanking me for something, and like it's not the American public's fault, but the government
Right.
fucked us over.
Right. So your dad, I know this is your stream. Can I ask you questions though?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
please. No.
But your viewers may be really bored. I don't know how much this comes up, but because they know you. But tell me about your dad's view towards the Army and then your view towards the Army and how those evolved.
Yeah, so my dad, I don't think he ever looked at his service or the U.S. military in really a negative light. There's just mistakes were made, which is kind of like the normal sense, but
like the Vietnam War, where it's like mistakes as opposed to evil. Kind of narrative.
Well, like you never really contend with it, and he ended up joining he get it on me post Vietnam, like literally.
Yeah, but that view of what is that what he thought Vietnam was like? It was
and that's where
strategic error.
At that point, he just wanted to get out of the factory in New York.
Right.
And get trained. That's what he was sold on. So, and that's where he was medical repair. So he actually just learned a skilled trade.
Right.
He did his time in the military, did his time in the Army, and then ended up working for Philips Medical Systems.
And so when you are not a U.S. citizen, I'm very ignorant about this. I know people join the military to pay for education, medical school. So it expedites your naturalization process?
This is what it used to.
Okay.
And this is a very interesting thing that, like, my dad understood, especially, like, racism in the United States, understood that the drug war was bullshit, right? But he actually liked Reagan.
Oh, interesting.
Because it was under Reagan, in which case, if you signed up for the military 1 year, as he told the story, he was ready to go to work, and one of his, leadership pulled him aside and said, "No, we need you to go to the ceremony. It's your 1 year. You're a citizen of the United States."
Wow.
And they told him to get into the nicer uniform to do the ceremony.
Yeah.
So this used to be, when you say expedited. Now, and fast forward to my experience, there's some Marines that I'm still in contact with, and it was just like actually during Trump, where a buddy of mine, they were about to deploy, go to Japan for a few months, and one of his Marines in his platoon was getting hounded by ICE to be deported before he was deployed under the United States Marine Corps. Yeah, so all of these things, the things that, like my father took advantage of, so many immigrants across the United States took advantage of, are just completely flipped on its head.
Right.
We were just dealing with plain old fascism.
Right.
And I think even, really to even bring it on the other side, I'm sure you're familiar with like Mike Preisner and. Yes.
I've had him on. I've had on Anthony Aguilar, Greg Stoker, Brian McGinnis, who just literally had his arm broken. You saw that?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh my
all
God.
veterans
Like
that are way tougher than I am. But something that I've seen, especially that like Mike Preisner's been sharing, is about the amount of service members that are reaching out to become conscientious objectors. And that is something I really don't know how to explain it other than people are more aware.
Yeah.
Especially at the forefront of a conflict than they have ever been. Because
it helps that Trump is just saying out loud, right? Like oil, we're going to take Cuba, like Iran, I mean, I have this joke. It's like, who said it, Trump or Chomsky? Because if you actually read certain quotes, like Trump is a lot dumber than Chomsky, but like one of them said, the U.S. won't punish Saudi Arabia over Khashoggi because Saudi Arabia just bought a bunch of weapons. And either one would say that. For Trump, it's like explaining why he's not going to do anything about it. And for Chomsky, it would be like condemning it.
Yeah.
But that happens to be a Trump quote, but it could have easily have been a Chomsky quote.
Yeah.
So he's just like taking off the mask. So,
and there is, and I'll say for my, like when I was serving, it was like 2010 to 2016. From what, I was pretty lucky as far as my experience where I had to serve and all these types of things, like, 10 fingers, 10 toes, no combat situations, nothing crazy. But the idea that even like anyone in my squad, platoon, or whatever would call a stranger and tell them, I am not willing to deploy. There was a story, they were like talking about someone leaving from ship to go home. None of us knew what that was. Yeah, we had no idea what that was. I had no idea what that was until, I was like literally about to get out of the Marine Corps. And I'm like, who is this guy, Bernie Sanders? And I started getting connected to all these different things. I was like, wait a minute, I could have done this. So this is a very, very different time, I think, that we're dealing with. And I really only hope more service members understand, because from my experience, you don't really end up in the military, especially the United States military, if you're well-read and aware.
Pat Tillman, though. You know Pat Tillman, right?
Yes, yeah.
I had Lawrence Wilkerson. So other good, really, I think, very great people and guests and like mind changers. Ann Wright, who's here with us in Cuba, Lawrence Wilkerson. And he said that he thinks that, so Pat Tillman was he was like a Chomsky fan. It was really weird that he signed up in the first place.
Well, that's where, like, from what I know, he became, he first deployed in support and then, like, ended up questioning.
But I thought he was already reading Chomsky before that.
I'm not sure. I thought,
But Wilkerson thinks for sure that he was, not for sure, I don't want to say, he thinks he was taken out. Yes. Like it wasn't accidental friendly fire. I never heard that by anyone who had any kind of like credibility.
Yeah. Well, I would say there's one of my close friends, and actually one of the precursors to someone that worked with me, like Vets for Bernie and with Life on Vets. He also served in the Army as an infantryman. He believes it 100%.
Wow.
And so.
And why? Because he was going to be outspoken about it?
Well, there's not only the gonna be, is that he was already outspoken within the unit. It was kind of already being spread around that, and especially like this famous guy.
Right, because he was a football player, right?
Yeah, he played for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah. So at the very best, to be the most charitable, they like accidentally killed him and covered it up. That's one end of the spectrum, and the other end of the spectrum is like, no, they actually did it on purpose and covered it up.
And when things get really fishy is when you start analyzing the actual aspects of the blue on blue.
What's that mean?
Oh, the friendly fire.
The
friendly fire.
Yeah.
Sorry, yes.
That's what he was telling me. Like there was all this stuff. If you look at like the actual just evidence about it, it didn't make sense. Which I was like, I feel like I'm constantly in the state, like with Israel especially. I'm like, nothing that Israel does will ever surprise me. And then they do something, and I'm like, I shouldn't be surprised. I'm being naive, but putting a nail in a baby. Like, I mean, it's just like you can't.
I tried and split it between like shocked versus surprised.
Yeah, that's a good.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm still
shocked. So it's still shocked, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not surprised.
That's a good. Yeah. In fact, Vijay Prashad, I think I had on after this.
You got so many great guests.
Oh yeah, I'm blessed. Yeah. No, I'm very lucky. But I was saying something about how like, are you really surprised about what happened in Venezuela? And he's like, no, we should still be shocked because it's like. It is hard to maintain you have to always kind of recalibrate because you don't want to become jaded.
Yes.
You don't want to be like naive and ignorant. You want to be clear-eyed about it. But one of the hardest things I think of the genocide is like, if you followed it, I actually feel really lucky in a weird way to have a show because it like forced me to look at the news and not get so full of despair because I felt like, okay, I have a show to do. I have to be like presentable. I cried a few times, but for the most part, I would just like, keep it together.
Yeah.
And because you have this higher calling of like, whatever, whether it's you're streaming or I'm interviewing people or you're doing both, like it's really important to feel like you have a purpose. And that purpose doesn't have to be like you're on the star of a show. I mean, your purpose could be like organizing, education, mutual aid. It could be so many things. But I do think that the act of like doing something is really important for your own mental well-being, mental health.
Yeah.
And then of course, hopefully it has actually good outcomes on the real world.
No, I feel like that's a pressure, like when I started doing online, streaming and stuff, like getting out there I don't think it's like as big of a focus for me as it is now.
Yeah.
And I do think it's like this thing of necessity, like where it's like, I need to do this for my own health.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Because if you're not exercising your beliefs, that is a detriment to your own mental health.
Right.
At some point you're confining yourself. So and for YouTube, I'm sorry to like just go into like a contest of like you pre-record and then edit because I've cried on stream so many times. So
yeah, no, I live
stream.
stream and then I edit, but I've never taken out like my crying or anything.
Yeah, okay.
No. But I live stream and then we edit clips from it. So I live stream like now it's often twice a week, but basically it's once a week and then we cut it up.
So I see the cut-ups.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, yes.
But you guys have to come on my show. I have to, it's late. What time is it? I have to go to sleep because can I plug something?
You can plug absolutely.
I don't want to sabotage or jinx it, but tomorrow I'm interviewing one of the Cuban 5 who were the 5 Cubans arrested for being spies, as they call it. But what we really know is that they were just counterterrorism operatives. They were in jail for years because the crime that they committed was basically trying to investigate the terrorism that was being committed by Cuban exiles and supported by the United States. And it's so important, I think, because you still see this is in play. Like, who are the terrorists? Okay, the Palestinians apparently are the terrorists, the Iranians are the terrorists, the Cubans are the terrorists, the Venezuelans are the terrorists. And it's not just a lie, it's like an inversion of the truth. I mean, I say this all the time, I sound like a broken record, but it's not just a lie. It's literally like every accusation is a confession, right?
Yeah.
So the terrorists were not the Cubans. Well, they were the Cubans who were anti-Castro, those Cubans, but not Cuban government officials. And, we're actually, I mean, they people probably know, maybe not, but there's this Posada Carriles, Luis Posada Carriles, who was given like shelter in the United States. He was a terrorist. He coordinated a plane, he bombed a plane.
Yeah.
It killed like many people in Barbados, many people from the Cuban fencing team. He also, though, I didn't, I follow this a lot. I didn't know this until literally a couple of weeks ago. There was an Italian tourist who was at the Copacabana. Di Celmo was his last name. And he was killed in one of these Posada Carriles, like, bombing sprees.
Yeah.
They set bombs in, like, half a dozen, I think, hotels. And this one, there was some metal that exploded and cut him in his neck, and so he actually died. And
Jesus,
and no one's paid this guy, like Posada Carriles, like lived till 90, I think, and died in Miami. I will just say it is amazing that Fidel Castro lived. Like, I know he was an atheist and maybe agnostic, but an atheist. Like, I think I'm like 99% atheist, but I guess technically that makes me agnostic because I'm not sure. But there's something amazing about like living to 90 when the CIA has tried to kill you over 600 times.
It's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Some of the stories though are very funny and like how ridiculous. It's like they literally just watched Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Yeah.
And they're like, can we do that
Yeah.
to Castro underwater?
Exactly. Yeah, they had the coral reef, the scuba suit, the cigar.
Yeah. I mean, it's just,
Unreal.
yeah, no, and I don't know if you see that video when he was, I think he was coming to visit in like to New York, and he said, "I have the moral vest, or I have the support of the people. I have the moral vest."
I never heard that.
Oh,
That's amazing.
okay. Well, you gotta, yeah. There's there's a video of it and everything. Cause he's coming over. Yeah, one of these reporters said, asked him, "There's reports you wear bulletproof vests to protect yourself from assassination everywhere you go." And he just unbuttoned his shirt.
Wow.
And he said, "No."
When is this from? Like what decade?
I think it was early 80s.
Okay, no, I have a moral vest. Wow.
That's because I think it was like when he came to Harlem.
Right. Yeah.
And it's classic Fidel. It's
Classic
perfect.
Fidel, yeah. Great, yeah.
As of right now, we're just trying to there's like DSA people
Cool.
that are kind of like in contact, like trying to get with like some Morena Party people.
Yeah. Luis is
push-
Morena or adjacent.
Yeah, because and that's where Sheinbaum was great on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Pemex isn't sending oil to Cuba like they were. And there's really only one reason for that, and it's capitulation.
Right.
And I don't know what the answer is, but we have to figure out a way around it. Delcy Rodriguez can't make that decision.
Right.
She can Sheinbaum.
Right.
And this is where Gustavo Petro is another lot. A lot of talk.
I know, a lot of talk and not a lot of walk or whatever. Yeah.
He called Trump a pedophile.
Yeah.
And
then what did he do?
Brought him gifts from the airport.
Right. Yeah. I'm always like, I don't know what she can't. It's always that like feeling torn, like, because you want to hope for the best, you want to push for the best, but you also, and you want to like give in, like capitulate, but then we are dealing with the U.S. I mean, who I interviewed the other day, who was actually, I really like his insights on this, is Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah.
He just has a very good, like, global view on.
Yeah. Well, and I think my craziest idea would only be if, like, there actually was a flotilla of Americans on boats surrounding a Pemex oil ship as it floats in the Cuban harbor.
Why don't we do that?
And I mean, like, why we should do that.
I mean, because it's not going to be like Gaza where they would actually kill us.
I know.
Our government, I mean, in other words, in Israel, with Gaza, it's like they would be doing it. It's a little more awkward for our own government to do it. But I'm not a brave person. Like, people sometimes like, you're so brave. I'm like, I speak out, but I'm not like, I went to Cuba. I've been invited to Gaza to do the flotilla. I was invited to go to Iran, Pakistan, and I haven't done it. I don't mean to discourage people from doing that. I'm just being real about honest, but I was like, I'll come to Cuba though. I mean, because there's nothing to be clear, like I would be afraid of going to Iran, not because of the Iranian government. I'd be afraid because what my government would do. Yeah.
No, the U.S. and Israeli missiles that are dropping is like, that's the main concern. Yeah. And I think that's, I think it's definitely like, much safer, but there's always that like, Trump wouldn't. Then it's like,
exactly,
what wouldn't he actually?
Yeah, so many people thought he would never do something like this. So
this is a complete disaster. But we do need to wrap up because you need to go to sleep.
Yes, to interview this Cuban Five guy.
But we do need to do this again.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's great. So Katie Halper, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
And
subscribe. If you're seeing this on my channel on YouTube, subscribe to them on Twitch.
Yes, and if you are seeing this on my channel, subscribe to this Katie Halper Show on YouTube, and that's how we do it.
Yes.
Perfect.
Socialism in action.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.